This is the full view. Welcome back. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa told the ANC Women's League in Mbombela in Mpumalanga on Thursday that the South African government was duty-bound to go to the International Court of Justice because Israel would not stop slaughtering Palestinians. So what does this move mean then for South Africa on the international stage? Let's now find out from political analyst Mr. Thamsanqa Malinga. Thamsanqa, thank you so much for your time. I suppose the big question is, how is South Africa's close relationship with Palestine affecting its other international allies as well as partners? Can we expect any kind of geopolitical fallout from this move?
Good afternoon, Bongi, and good afternoon to the viewers. I think we are just panicking over nothing in this issue. One thing that people have been saying is that, you know, there's going to be quite a lot of fallout, and others have been looking at prospects of war, which is one that is out of the way. And others are looking at a huge snowball effect in terms of fallout with other countries. But I think that we are really overestimating the issues. Yes, there's going to be some fallouts, especially with those countries that are quietly close with Israel. I can mention the USA, for example. That is the one country that might likely, be the first one. I looked recently in terms of their culling, in terms of the AGOA pact, especially with most of the African countries. That's the one country. Why am I saying that? There is a law in the US which is called the Leahy Law, where that law says that should a country or a military unit that is closely linked with the US be found to have committed gross human rights violation in terms of, the ICJ, the US is bound to act against that country. They are bound in terms of that law, and they are bound also to act internally. And also there is now concerns that in terms of what South Africa has done with the move in the ICJ, there might be other laws internally within the US that might affect their relationship with Israel. And so there's now a debate within the US itself to say what South Africa has done. Should the ruling be for South Africa, then it's going to be a snowball effect in terms of the US having to act against Israel, to withdraw the military support, and to also look at what other bilateral relations they might have with Israel.
Yes, Thamsanqa, I mean, I wanted to ask, and then how does all this geopolitical mess, for lack of a better term, then affect the ordinary South African? I mean, the Justice Minister there, Ronald Lamuna, mentioned that South Africa will be opened to diplomatic talks after the case. And how has the World Court action then affected our relationship with Israel directly?
In terms of, let's look at the USA, for example. The USA can then say, let's start reviewing where we are with South Africa. They might do what they have done with other member states who have signed the AGOA pact. They might decide to act irrationally. And decide to say, we're expelling South Africa from AGOA. The US sometimes likes to act irrationally over things. That's one of the things that they might do. But South Africa being South Africa, one thing that I like about South Africa is that it likes to engage with other countries. It's a country that will not take matters lightly when the US, for example, says, okay, you have messed our bilateral relations with Israel now since we are forced to cut ties with them. South Africa will say, no, No, that is a matter between us and Israel. Let's sit down and discuss our matters. Germany, for example, has one of the countries that says we're not supporting South Africa in this. We don't believe South Africa is correct in this. And if they are forced to also take a stand against South Africa, and I believe that South Africa is one country that will say, come sit with us in the table. South Africa is one of countries that is best at saying, let's have a relationship, let's have a discussion one-on-one rather than you going with the crowd.
Yeah.
It's not a case of let us panic and say, oh, everyone is now going to have sanctions against us. No, then that is not one issue that we're going to face all of a sudden.
And Thamsanqa, speaking of those AGOA pacts and other trade relations that we do have and diplomatic relations that we do have, do you think the ICJ matter will then affect Western aid, trade with and investment in South Africa? And will the outcome affect all of these things as a whole?
There is going to be some form of an impact in that. In a sense, there's some countries will start to say, let's think twice about the aid that we gave in South Africa. Let's think twice about the bilateral relations we have. But I believe in Minister Pandor and her team, and I believe in the fact that they are not going to sit back and say, well, guys, cheerio, bye-bye. They are, like I said, they are going to say, guys, let's have a one-on-one discussions. This was not a group matter to say, let's have relationships. It was not a matter of come all to the table and we all sign these agreements or we all sign these aid agreements. It was a one-on-one relationship. So let's have a one-on-one discussions.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, Thamsanqa. Now, let's look at the ANC and its current political position in the country, with many saying that the party is using the ICJ genocide matter to garner support ahead of the upcoming elections. What is your comment to that?
Well, the ANC has had a good relationship with the people of Palestine. It goes back, way back since the days of Nelson Mandela. The ANC has, if you take the symbol of the scarf of kept that the Yasser Arafat symbol alive by making sure that everywhere you go, you see that symbol of that scarf. So they have kept that alive. The struggle of the people of Palestine, it has been an ANC matter long before it has been a South African government matter. So it's not that they are riding on that success. It has been an ANC matter. So we cannot falter them on that.
All right. And in terms of this case, I mean, do you think it affects in any way South Africa's role in the BRICS bloc?
Not at all. I mean, yes, the other countries in the BRICS bloc have shown support. Russia, for example, has given South Africa a full support in terms of in terms of taking the matter to ICJ. So it's not gonna affect South Africa's position in the BRICS bloc at all. I don't believe so.
All right, Thamsanqa, thank you so much for your contributions. That was political analyst Mr. Thamsanqa Malinga weighing in on the possible impact of the South Africa's ICJ case against Israel and its anniversary celebrations out in Mbombela.